and Toastmasters. How is it that every time we visit a supermarket, you purchase the same toothpaste, the same milk, or bread? Or what about when you need to update your phone or invest in a new car? Do you choose the same brand? Or would you bust out and buy a product from a totally new company? I would bet that you would justify your new purchase by, oh, it's good for the environment, or oh my gosh, I remember when I was a kid, I had that exact same jar of Vegemite. Whether you know it or not, your decision boils down to the story that the brand tells through its messaging. Graphic designers have a fancy term for this called sensation transference. It's the unconscious assessment of a product. Coca-Cola used this complex understanding of human behaviour by using this power through their happiness or open happiness campaign. Does anyone remember that? Yeah, so they cracked the bottle open and then out came all the happiness and the visual of connecting with friends and enjoying laughter and happiness. So Nike also uses sensation transference with their slogan, just do it. So it's pretty powerful, and I think we can all appreciate that we'd like that in the back of our mind. We'd like that voice in the back of our mind. So as you know from our last session together, I'm a graphic designer, but I'm also a professional belly dancer. Indulging in Middle Eastern snacks was a weekly thing for me at my gigs. So leaving Perth and returning home to our beautiful Fraser Coast and discovering that we didn't have any Middle Eastern restaurants available, I was a little bit sad. But when I discovered that we had a little Turkish restaurant down near the soccer field, I was really delighted. So we don't have much choice, but when my boyfriend took us there to this new Turkish restaurant, I was so excited. We entered the establishment and the owner came gliding toward us with a big beaming smile. He was happy to welcome us into the restaurant. We sat down at a table for two, soaking up the ambiance. We looked at the beautiful filigree that was entrenched in all the little coffee cups and beautiful fabrics. I noticed the eagle eye symbol and I just felt at home. So as we sat and waited patiently for our menus, we just enjoyed the whole entire experience. After we ordered, the owner came up to us with a small dish, and it was actually a dish of dolmades. Has anyone tried them before? Yeah, you know what they are? Yeah, they're pretty good. And so I was immediately so excited and happy that we were going to try these little, it's steamed rice wrapped in grape leaves. So we're going to eat them and enjoy them together. And so we ate them and savoured every last bite. And when I was eating them, I remembered all the experiences from Perth, and it came flooding back into my mind. And I had extreme nostalgia. So So in that moment, in the little Turkish kitchen in Maryborough, I experienced sensation transference and became a new loyal customer. So the crazy thing about this story is the owner humbly came up to us afterwards and revealed that these beautifully rolled, great vine leaves weren't actually hand-rolled as I imagined. They were actually from a tin. So we were really shocked because they were so delicious. Well, I thought they were so delicious and fresh and beautiful. And so when he revealed that they were from a tin, it didn't matter because I was experiencing and remembering all those memories from Perth, and that transferred into my experience of eating. So graphic designers understand this, and we take this and use it when we develop our packaging. So it's not just the high production value of shiny commercials or beautiful designs or the quality of clothing. It's actually what we call the ruler, the sage, the jester, and the magician. So these are only 4 out of the 12 archetypes developed by Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. Archetypes are known as the collective unconscious and connect to our primal human core. It's the unspoken knowledge of symbols and experiences. So over all countries and all races, we all have the same connections to symbols, colours, and ideas. Graphic designers and brand strategists have adopted Jung's approach to develop more effective branding with a deeper understanding of people and design elements. These archetypes we can use as a guide to make design decisions and connect with consumers. We use this research and specialised techniques to create our packaging. So with this knowledge, I want you to take this little takeaway, and next time you visit the supermarket, try and self-analyse why you're choosing a product. Is it the colour? Is it the story that the brand tells? Is it the price? What influences your purchasing decisions? And if it is a nostalgic experience that comes to mind when you pick up a product, that's sensation transference.
Toastmasters and fellow Speechcrafters. Freshly ground coffee. The bittersweet smell of burnt nuts and caramel greets me as I open the tea room door. Snap! I'm immediately taken back to a Thai swing hung from a kumquat tree some 30 years ago. The tree was in my babysitter's backyard. In fact, it's still there. I see it every time I drive into Gympie, just opposite the golf course. And perhaps you too have noticed the lingering smell of coffee as you drive along this part of the highway. It's very close to the Nestle factory, or Nestles, as we called it when I was a kid. There are other memories from my childhood, inextricably linked to my sense of smell. Dew on fresh cut grass. Snap! I'm on an early morning walk with my grandmother. Salty surf spray. Snap! I'm being rolled in the waves and pulled up by my uncle. Sweaty horses. Snap! I'm at a polo field on a sunny day with my father. I'd like you all to take a moment to think of a smell that is strongly linked with a memory. It might be roses or baby powder, roast meat or lemons, perhaps strawberries and fresh hay. I imagine that for many of you, your smell will be linked with food, and there's a very good reason for this. Our tongue is actually only able to identify 5 tastes: sweet, bitter, sour, salty, and and savoury. The million other flavours that we experience are actually identified by nerves at the back of our nose, our sense of smell. Our sense of smell is the first to develop and has direct links with the part of our brain responsible for emotions and memory. This is why many of our childhood memories and those from times of high emotion often have strong smells attached to them. Things like the cologne he was wearing the night we fell in love, the flowers at a funeral, burnt rubber after a car accident, the smell of a new baby. When I think back to the haze of sleepless nights and postnatal depression that followed the birth of my first son, I realise just how important his smell was to me. On more than one occasion, I broke the golden rule of parenting: never wake a sleeping baby. We would come home from my mother-in-law's after dinner, and I would wake him, bathe him, and put him in new pyjamas. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I didn't like the smell of her perfume. I just couldn't stand my baby not smelling like my baby. Just as our sense of smell is one of the first to develop, it's also one of the last senses that we lose as we age. I used to sit with my husband's grandmother in the nursing home. She was almost deaf. Her cataract surgery was not successful. And while she was delighted that I brought the boys to visit, she really wasn't sure who we were. We sat with her and encouraged her to eat something, or to eat anything, really. And one day I passed her a slice of cake. She took a deep breath in. Fruitcake. And as she took a bite, she closed her eyes. This tastes just like my mother's fruitcake. And just for a moment, she was a little girl again, twirling around the kitchen in her too long floral apron as her mother taught her the very good Christmas cake recipe. She could never have guessed that that recipe would be lovingly handed down through so many generations. And I often joke that my husband only agreed to marry me after he knew that I could make me nice cake. Now, my challenge to you is to take some time this week to be more aware of the smells and flavours you experience. Take a moment to let your mind wander down memory lane. When you walk into the tea room and notice a pack of Tim Tams on the table, instead of crunching one down as quick as you can, hoping that if you eat it fast, your body won't notice the calories and the guilt will pass quicker, why not make yourself a hot drink? Sit down. Breathe in the bittersweet warmth of your coffee. Take a careful bite of the biscuit. Notice how your tongue gathers every last crumb, and then savour the delicate chocolate as it melts in your mouth. Snap. It takes me back to Anzac Day, 1999, warming ourselves around a wood fire after a bitterly cold dawn service. Where will it take you?
Madam Toastmasters, fellow Speechcrafters. Why are we here? This is the existential question that philosophers have been debating for thousands of years. And as a species, we still don't know. If we're to believe Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. He might. Religions all over the world have different beliefs for an afterlife. Christianity, Islam, Judaism have heaven and hell. Buddhism, Hinduism believe in karma, reincarnation, and reaching nirvana, spiritual enlightenment, not that. The ancient Norse had Valhalla. The ancient Irish had Tirnanoe, meaning land of the young. And so many more. One for every belief system and culture. What they all have in common is the doctrine of reward for good behaviour in this life and punishment for bad. In other words, live a good life, be a better human. Even if you don't subscribe to organised religion, the 7.6 billion people of this earth have a moral compass. And mostly, I believe, we try as best we can to navigate towards the good. Sometimes it's hard to believe, given the hatred, fighting and wars we see every day on the news. The astronomer, astrophysicist and cosmologist Dr. Carl Sagan once described the Earth as a pale blue dot in the vastness of space. I quote, "The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the endless cruelty visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings. How eager they are to kill one another. How fervent their hatreds. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot." He also said, "The universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, it seems like an awful waste of space." End quote. If there is advanced life out in the vastness of the cosmos, what will they think of our bickering and fighting whilst in possession of weapons that can destroy every living thing on the planet? Surely we can be better. Every one of us can be better. Growing up in Ireland in the 70s and 80s, it was a time now quaintly termed the Troubles. The 6 counties of Northern Ireland were ruled by the British government. The population of the north was divided into Republicans who wanted a united Ireland, and Unionists or Loyalists who wanted to remain under British rule. The paramilitary Irish Republican Army would kill British soldiers, set off car bombs in busy city streets in Northern Ireland and on the British mainland. Informants were kneecapped. The Loyalist paramilitary, Coastal Defence Force, and the British Army would retaliate in equal measure. There was death, violence and brutality on both sides. I never believed there would be a peaceful resolution in my lifetime. Then, in 1998, the Irish and British governments created a treaty known as the Good Friday Agreement, because it was signed on Good Friday of that year. It created a power-sharing arrangement for the governing of Northern Ireland. The fight had stopped. Someone had done better. We marvel at the inspiring people in our history: Gandhi, Marie Curie, Einstein, Florence Nightingale, Dr. Martin Luther King. And we ask, how can one person make such a difference? The simple fact is, they believed we could do and be better. Why are we here? I'm standing here today in this hall from you and a Toastmasters banner because I want to learn and expand my knowledge, not just for career progression or to be more confident, but to be better than I was yesterday. I want to be a better human. That's why I'm here. Why are you here?
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters and fellow Speechcrafters. I strongly believe dogs make better companions than cats. Now, let me tell you why. However, be warned, you may find yourselves this very afternoon shopping for a dog. Has anyone heard the term man's best friend? Love? Yes? None people? I've had it a number of times, so I decided to do a little bit of research. And looking at studies conducted at institutions, publications, and surveys, it's actually a thing, and I found it was unanimous. With statements such as, dogs have masters, cats have servants. Now, just ponder that for a second. You can get dogs from 2 kilograms to 80 kilograms. The types of dogs, I could talk all day. You have lap dogs, guide dogs, farm dogs, working dogs, so sled dogs, rescue dogs, service dogs for the army or police force, show dogs, guard dogs. There's even dogs in hospitals that can detect seizures and pinpoint cancers. Crazy, huh? No wonder there's so many dog movies. Get you thinking Red Dog, Lassie, Marley and Me, Old Yeller, Turner and Hooch, Beethoven, and that's just to name too few. I can't even think of a cat movie. Dogs will promote a healthy lifestyle, love you endlessly, and just want to please you. And guess what? No stinky houses with puppy litter boxes. Now, just so you know, I love all animals. I grew up on a little farm in Victoria. I've had dogs, cats, horse, cow, sheep, geese, chooks, turtles, lizards, rabbits, guinea pigs, mice, and even a ferret. All animals are amazing, and in so many different ways. Some provide you with affection, food, labour, amusement, and also an inner peace. So yes, I've had a number of cats growing up, and I can tell you, you feed cats and constantly cater to their needs. Meow meow is either I want food, I want to go outside, I want a pat when it suits me. So yeah, they're very needy animals. Now, I've had a number of dogs also in my life, and they weren't just my pets, but they were companions and my best mates, whose only wants were to be loved endlessly. So, Soxy was my first dog. We were brought home together about a week apart. He was a Rottweiler boxer cross, black in colour, with a few tan kind of patches around his face. And one thing I remember about him was the most warmest cuddles ever as a kid growing up. That was one of the things we did together. We were inseparable. So one day when we was about 5 or 6, we decided to go exploring into the neighbour's yard. And so we got under the fence and off we went. And I fell in the dam, so I wasn't very good at swimming back then, got myself into a bit of trouble and really thought I was going to drown. And next thing I know, my dog Soxy is able to jump in, I grabbed his collar, and he swam me to safety. So Mum never found out about that. Just thinking now that yeah, if I had a cat, I probably wouldn't be here today. Sky was a blue heeler that I had for a present as my 12th birthday. She was a quiet dog, blue heeler, 2 patchy black eyes, and a black patch on her back. One thing I remember about Sky is she's one of the only dogs I've ever known that could actually smile, or so I thought so at the time. As with every child at this age, I was discovering who I was growing up and who I wanted to be. I used to spend a lot of time with her. We'd go roaming around on the property, and we'd have big chats, and I swear she understood, but if she didn't, she was a great listener and pretended really well. She was a big part of my life when I was growing up, and I couldn't imagine I'd be the person today without her to hang out. So when I was 30, I relocated to Cairns, and occasionally I get myself into trouble while going out into the town one way or another. So I had a big think, and I thought it was time to settle down and buy a house. Around that same time, I also got a dog, and she was a Kelpie Collie Cross, and I named her Katie. The years that followed, I didn't have the money to go out partying, and why would I? Because my mate was at home. We'd go for runs, exploring new mountain treks, and just hanging out. Some of the most fondest memories I have in Cairns are with Katie. She was the most adorable dog, gentle in nature, and just a real sweetheart. Besides pointing out the fact that she helped me to start dating my wife, Peter. As she too was a mad dog lover who didn't want to go out without her fur baby Roxy. So Roxy is a Tibetan Terrier who Peter picked up as a rescue dog. And I swear Peter thinks that Roxy is her soulmate before me. Crazy, right? So, well, our dogs got along and soon 2 became 4 and our adventure started. Unfortunately, soon after we moved to Mount Isa, Katie passed away and living a good, loving and exciting life. I've never lost any family or friends. To date, I think of myself as a pretty lucky person. However, I have lost 3 dogs in my life passing away, Soxy, Sky and Katie. And those are some of the most traumatic, devastating days to date, feeling like your heart is torn out and a pain that felt like it would never end. These dogs were not just my pets, but my mates, companions and partners in crime, who shaped the way I am today. These memories will be cherished forever, the rest of my life. So then there was 3. Even Roxy wasn't the same without her mate. One day, a friend of ours, dogs, had an unexpected litter, and we went around there for a barbecue and we started talking and they mentioned that they had one still available. So, seeing her, we just instantly fell in love. She was a scruffy, heeler, Arab Wolfhound cross that we referred to as a Mount Isa special. So then there was 4 again. I have never met such an energetic dog. She can only be described as a loving, scruffy, adorable bullfed. Everything is 100 miles an hour. Poor old Roxy struggles to keep up with her, but I think it keeps her young. My 2-year-old daughter loves animals, especially her 2 dogs. I have a feeling that Indy may be her favourite, as she's constantly chasing her around her house saying, "Ee, ee," and she'll either be sitting on her or pulling her by the ears or tail. Indy's not really too concerned what kind of attention she got. And just this morning, my little girl, she's been cooked all night. She's laying there last night crying, and Indy come up and put her nose on her lap, and Indy put her hand out and she's "ee," and she stopped crying. And yeah, it's just one of those moments that you just remember for the rest of your life. So after doing this PowerPoint work that I'm going to have to do a course on IT after this. Cool. So those are some of my memories, adventures that I've shared with my companion, and I now get to share with my family. So if you listen to everything I've said, I'll probably apologise now for your craving need to go out and get a dog, or maybe another one. Let the fun times begin.
Madam Toastmaster, Toastmasters, fellow Speechcrafters. Procrastination. It's Friday, early afternoon, and I'm sitting down to get a presentation for my Saturday morning Speechcraft session. I spent at least 5 minutes cursing and blaming myself. Why didn't I start earlier? If I had started last week, like my fellow Speechcraft Troy, I would be free now to enjoy life. I could be out with my kids on the beach poking mysterious sea creatures which the tide left behind with a stick. But no, I prefer surfing on my social media, and now I'm late with writing up my speech. The scientific term for this situation is called procrastination. It's a very serious condition of our mental health. It is a chronic condition to postpone completion of tasks, especially the unpleasant ones, for later. The word comes from Latin word procrastinatus, where the prefix pro, meaning forward, and crastinus, meaning of tomorrow. English speakers borrowed the word in the 16th century and kept it. We could use a different phrase, such as lazy as a pig, but procrastination sounds a bit better, doesn't it? Everybody procrastinates. Just admit it. How many times have you caught yourself postponing tasks for later? Spending time with friends, fishing, watching TV is preferred to writing speeches, reports, or repairing that leaking shower. And finally, when you force yourself to face the postponing task, every little thing can distract you. For example, I spent hours writing these few lines as there was still something more important to be done. Like building a cubby house under our kitchen table from blankets for my kids, dinner preparation, or bringing home the washing from a washing line. The writing could have been finished, yet I again fell into the bottomless gorge of procrastination. In the end, I told myself, I will not make the same mistake again. I will start my preparation earlier, complete the task earlier. Ha! How much I want to believe it. Next time, it will end up the same way. I will be working on it at the last minute. I might be sorry one day for that attitude, but till I run out of my luck, I will stick with my motto. What can you do today? Don't postpone it till tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and Speechcrafters. Have you ever been walking down the street, minding your own business, and someone looked at you scowling, and then you wondered what you did wrong? Or worse, you asked them what the heck they were looking at? Have you ever opened a block of chocolates, packet of chips, or a bag of your favourite treat and told yourself you'd have to finish it now simply because you opened the seal? You'll start your diet tomorrow. Again. Have you ever imagined what other people are thinking and ruminated over that assumption all day? How about when you're driving and someone dared to cut you off by pulling out in front of you, leaving you cursing to yourself while flailing around like the wacky, waving, inflatable arm flailing tube man from Fantastic Furniture? Have you ever stopped to think about how irrational this kind of thinking is and how your thoughts are affecting how you feel and behave? If not, you're in for a real treat today. According to the National Science Foundation, an average person thinks about 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day. 80% of those are negative, and 95% are repetitive thoughts. Who here has heard of CBT before? CBT is the acronym for Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. It's a treatment approach which helps us to identify unhelpful or negative thought patterns which affect our behaviour. CBT assists us to explore and understand how our thoughts affect our feelings, which affect how we behave. CBT is not about letting the other person win. CBT is about getting the best outcome for ourselves in a situation so that you can free yourself of unpleasant feelings and basically live a more enjoyable life. Let me show you an example using the cognitive model. So something happens, it could be anything. So you've got the situation, and then you have thoughts about that. And then what happens is that you have feelings or emotions. And then you've got a behavioural response. Now this situation could be positive or it could be negative. So let's say someone gives you a bunch of flowers. Your thoughts might be, oh, that's lovely, they're so nice, thank you. Unless you're suspicious and you say, well, what did you do wrong? But, let's just go with the fact that we're not suspicious. So you're feeling loved, you might be feeling pleasant, and so your behavioural response might be that you'll give that person a hug or maybe a handshake or a kiss. The thing about this is you don't want to really change this because it's not unpleasant. So the point of cognitive behavioural therapy is to change something that's unpleasant into something that is pleasant. So let's use the example of getting cut off while you're driving. So you get cut off while you're driving, so the situation is driving and you're cut off. So someone pulls out in front of you. Your thoughts might be, what are your thoughts?
Anger.
Swearing.
Thoughts, you're jumping the kids.
One of my thoughts sometimes is when you get your license from a cornflakes packet.
Yes. Where did you get your license from? You might also think some swear words in your head. You might think those things. What the heck, I own the road. Don't you know that? So your feelings then might be anger. Anger, frustration, irritated. So what do you think your behavioural response might be if you're feeling angry?
Yeah.
So you might flip in the bird.
Yell at them.
Yell.
Burst into tears.
Cry.
Ram off the road.
Ram off the road.
Right.
So these are some of the things that you might do. Now, what we've got to do is think, are these things helpful? Is this going to be helpful for us? You know, that's going to affect our whole day, whether we flip them the bird, yell, cry, ram them off the road. That might get you into even more trouble and I might see you at work. So what we want to do is we want to intervene here. This is where we want to intervene. Because the reality is that you will probably still have these thoughts. These thoughts are still going to come on. So you might still think, where did you get your license? What the hell is wrong with you? Didn't you see me? But if we stop that, pause, take a moment and say, well, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to have a bad day. So we could stop there and go, okay, maybe they didn't see me. We could also think, better late than never. to look at our thoughts and think of an alternative perspective. What are the facts to support my thoughts? Then we can start to feel better. So if we look at this and we think, well, maybe they didn't see me, better late than never, you might start to feel more calm, maybe content, and you're able to let these things go. So then your behavioural response might be that you just don't react, because that too is a response. Not reacting is also a response. Unfortunately, these things can affect our whole day, how we go about it. We get to work, we're flustered, we take it out on the trainee or someone else at work. But if we can stop ourselves in the middle of it, then we can think about changing our whole day. The truth is, we all experience these unhelpful thinking styles at some point. But if you can become aware of how these thoughts are affecting your life and practice strategies to challenge the chatter in your mind. So there's a list of prompts you can use to assess the truthfulness of your negative thinking. You might think of the evidence, the helpfulness, the alternative perspectives and the thinking biases. Am I confusing the fact with opinion? What's the evidence for this negative thought? Are these thoughts helpful to me? If a good friend knew I was having this thought, what would they say? What would Batman say to me? Am I thinking in all or nothing terms? Am I catastrophizing, jumping to negative conclusions? Am I focusing on my weaknesses and minimising my strengths? Am I condemning myself totally on the basis of one single event? Finally, try not to be disheartened because you'll continue to have these thoughts creep into your mind. The key is consistency of practicing each day to spot the unhelpful thought, challenge that thought, and reframe the thought to ensure the best outcome for your mental well-being. Madam Toastmaster.
Hello, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Speechcrafters and Toastmasters. What makes the best pet, a cat or a dog? Well, I believe that for most people, they either are cat people or dog people. Cats are low maintenance, don't need to be walked, are independent, and can entertain themselves quite easily. Where dogs are social animals, they do thrive on love and loyalty, but they're extremely active, they need to be walked every day, they need to be trained, they jump on you, they bark. So why am I a dog person? Well, I can tell you why. I love the attention they seek, I love the cuddles that they give, and nothing could be more enjoyable than a long walk with your best friend. I've grown up with dogs all my life, with small dogs. My first dog was a little Chihuahua, and we called her Yuki. She was actually named after a Japanese exchange student that had been staying with us at the time. She was very excited that we called our dog after her. Then we had a Jack Russell named Bats. My sister was obsessed with Batman, and so the poor dog got the name of Bats, even though it looked nothing like it. Then after I got married, my then husband and I, we got our first dog. My sister's dog had little pups, and I fell in love with him when I first saw him. He was twice as big as the rest of the litter, and I had to have him. I called him Bullfuck. He was only a little foxy. And then when he was 2, we bought another foxy because he was a bit lonely, and we called her Tigger because she would bounce around when she was a pup. She would walk. It was very cute. And it was just amazing how different these 2 dogs were. Bullfuck was a loving, laid-back, true gentleman, where Tigger was mischievous, active, and acted like a little princess. She loved to play fetch and would just run all day, where Buffer hated fetch, but he was a loyal dog. My daughter would get poor Buffer and squeeze him into her front basket of her bike and ride around, but then she'd get off and just leave him. And he wouldn't get out until she said, "You can get out." So sometimes I'd walk outside, find the poor dog stuffed in this poor little basket, and I'd have to physically take him out because he wouldn't even get out when I said, "You can get out." Unfortunately, Tick passed away when she was 13, and it was sudden and sad. But even the worst thing was actually seeing how heartbroken Buffer was to lose his little princess. I contemplated getting another dog because my daughter was absolutely obsessed with dachshunds for many years. But he was 15 and old, and I didn't think he'd be able to handle another pup. So my gorgeous little gentleman continued to be loyal and loving and lived a fantastic 18 years of life. It was very hard losing my little man after 18 years, but then to my surprise, that Christmas, just a few months later, my sister gave my daughter a Christmas present, and it was a dachshund. I really wasn't ready for another dog, but who could say no to this cute little black sausage dog? With her really long body and her tiny little legs and her really floppy ears. Just looking at her made me laugh. My daughter called her Chloe. After much protest of mine, I really wanted to call her something funny, like Stretch, or Sizzle, or HD, like some of them call it, for hot dog. However, we have nicknamed her Sausage. And of course, the first thing I did was I went and bought a big bread roll, cut it in half and stuffed her in it. My daughter was not impressed and stopped me before I put the sauce on it. It would have made a better photo. I couldn't believe how much she was like my Buffer and Tigger. She was loyal, she was loving, she was protective, but she also likes to play fetch, and she is a real princess and thinks she's half human. The dachshunds are a particular type of breed and they do peculiar things. She loves to rub her face on you. It doesn't matter how many times you say stop, she keeps doing it. And when you're sitting there watching TV, she'll actually jump up, crawl up and put her face right in front of yours so you can't see the TV. You move your head, she moves it. I've never seen a dog do that before. So obviously you've got to get up, it's time for fetch. She loves going to the beach and going for a swim, although she has no idea that she needs to turn around and come back. So you've actually got to swim out and get her before she drowns. She loves to go on long walks, and it's just amazing how far those little legs go. She actually has more clothes than I do, and she always gets the compliments at Halloween and dress-up parties that we go to. She's always the best dressed. She definitely has the small dog syndrome. She will only bark at large dogs. She may bark at small ones, just really large ones that stand there and look at it and go, lunch, it's sausage time. I love getting home from work and seeing her at the door waving a towel with her ball already in her mouth, ready to play fetch. But she does hate it when I say to her, "Where are your legs?" I say it every day, and it actually drives her insane. Dogs do provide a lifetime of love and loyalty, and I would not have it any other way. Oh, and she's not a lover of cats either. Thank you.